Hey there, guys. Welcome to the MH Performance Podcast. I'm your host, Miles Harrison. And today I thought I'd try something a little bit different for you guys. I thought I'd get a little bit of a Q&A type of episode today where I answer, to the best of my ability, the questions that I have received from my clients. So the idea came from the whole fact that I thought to myself, if the fact that my clients are asking these questions, the likelihood that you might be also asking some of these questions as well is quite possibly high. So let's get straight into it. So this one is for any new parents out there. Now I'm going to be brutal from the brutal. I'm going to be brutally honest from the start. I'm not a parent. I am definitely far away from that happening anytime soon. But the question I've got today is, how can new parents with limited time best look after each other? And this is what I've written. Look, I've got my notes and everything, so I've made sure I'm very prepared for these stuff. So when it comes to new parents, what I try to get new parents to do, because I've worked with a few others, and obviously just general parents in general, is if they are very scared with time, they've got limited time. I try not to change anything drastic. I'm not trying to give them anything particular new because you're quite limited with time already. And if you're already struggling with adding anything new to your actual day, then me trying to add three or four different things to your lifestyle is probably going to have a bit of a bounce back. So I say to usually them, I usually say, look at the stuff that you're already doing. So if you were training beforehand, if you were doing meal preps, start looking at already those type of things. Or is there anything that you're currently doing at the moment where you could potentially um, systemized it? Yeah, that's almost, is that what I'm trying to say? Simplemize it. Or even try to make it a little bit more efficient. So, for example, food prep is always going to be the easiest one, in my opinion, where in the sense of if you're cooking the meals, then cook a couple of more meals, make bigger batches so it saves time in the long run. Yes, in that initial cooking bit, it might take a little bit longer to, for example, do the meals, to potentially clean up afterwards. But if you could time block a little bit of time and then it saves time maybe within the week, I think that's a really good kind of to way to kind of organize things as well. I think if you're not someone who's also struggling to get in workouts as well, daily movements is going to be a really big thing. Obviously, going with walks, trying to get out, or even try to do almost like mini kind of workout blasts at home or in a gym. Technically, the mindset you really got to kind of adopt if you are a little bit scared of time is they might not be bang on perfect. They might not have been what you've been able to do before, but you should still have a choice of what you can do. And if it's just a little bit here, a little bit of there, you'll probably find out if you're not aiming for perfection, but you're aiming for a little bit more on the consistency side, it could go a very long way. So I hope I answered that as well as I could. The second question I've got, and this is from my client Emma. Yeah, some of my clients have been quite anonymous with this, and some clients are giving me their names. So hey, you gotta respect that. The question she got from her is, what are some or healthy alternatives when you want to snack during a movie or when you're craving something sweet? So when it comes to snacking or you having a little bit of a sweet treat, I think the same principles still apply in the sense of what we're trying to do is we're trying to swap out foods that are very calorie dense but not very high in volume. So things like, for example, like crisps, chocolates, sweets, um, things that could easily be ate in a couple of seconds, but then have like 3 or 4, or even 500 calories or something like that. And swapping for something that's a little bit lower on the calorie side, but has a massive amount of volume. So this could be an easy example of this. It could be instead of a packet of crisp, it could be popcorn. That's a really good one as well. Instead of having like a massive bowl of sweets, you could do like a fruit salad. Those are the kind of thinking as well. And the good things about obviously doing things like fruits and salads as well, really, really healthy for you. You get a load of fiber, a load of minerals, loads of vitamins as well. And they taste really good. So give that a whirl. And if you want to add a little bit more protein into the mix, you can have it with some Greek yogurt. Um, or you can add it with, yeah, what else could you also add it with? Yeah, you could add it with some probably like, what other protein sources could you potentially use or something like that? I love it when I go and say, "Oh yeah, you can also do this," and then for some odd reason my mind goes absolutely blank. Um, but yeah, if there's any other things and all that that come to my mind, I'm sure I'll probably say into my head or something like that. But anyway, we digress. Um, question number three: how do I know if I'm training hard enough? Now, this is obviously going to be very subjective. This is obviously going to be based on where you are within your training journey, what's your aim, and the type of session and all that as well. But I'm going to give a kind of general um, view upon this as well. So I think one, if you're kind of asking that type of question, then you're probably already in the mindset or the thought of you need to work a little bit harder because there's so many people will say and stuff like that, like you need to go all and you need to go all out all the time. You need to do this. Some people will say you need to either leave 2 or 3 reps in reserve. There's a load of information that can contradict, obviously, what is a hard effort and what's not. But for a general rule, obviously, if you're doing any kind of weightlifting session, something like a an RPE, um, RPE stands for rate of preserved effort. It's generally like a scale of 1 to 10, really. But it could be an RPE of an 8 out of 10. So, well, how that would look? That would generally look in the sense of when you're getting nearer to the end of your repetitions, obviously it's starting to get harder. You're not being able to move things as quickly. And the load just becomes a lot heavier. That's something to do there as well. Or even like technique starts to massively start to break down. That could be something like an RP either 8. Um, but yeah, the idea of it when it comes to how hard you're working, the idea of it is over time we want to do again the minimal effective dose that gets you to that place. Not because we're trying to, in a way, stop you from doing the hard work. I think really like if there's anything that I'd rather be someone who works too hard than someone that doesn't work hard enough. But the idea of that is one, we're getting you the results that we need without creating a massive amount of fatigue debt. So you're not absolutely ruining yourself if, for example, like you've got your everyday job, you've got people to look after, all those type of things. But um, it also means that you've got room to progress into as well. And it means that we're not just constantly just tapping things out and there's nowhere room to improve. And especially in the early days of your weightlifting, obviously, general difficulty is going to be obviously a lot higher, just due to the fact that everything's quite brand new. And what we want to do is obviously want to focus on things like tempo, technique, learning the skill to really make sure that when you do put on, excuse me, when you do put on load and you add a lot more volume to your training as well, you can cope with it. Question number 4. What to do if the scales isn't moving, but I feel like I'm working really hard. So this is quite a common thing when I start working with people who obviously ultimate goal is fat loss. Obviously, they generally will say to me like either the scales haven't moved so much, or if we're later down in their kind of like training and they've noticed that the progress is starting to stall a little bit, or if anything, the weight just hasn't moved at all. And the thing about scales is they are a useful metric to use. They are something that I always get all my clients to measure. I think it's quite valuable to realize that weight can massively fluctuate. And if you are my client listening to this, you've heard me say this before in the sense that your weight is literally your relationship towards gravity, meaning that it's not just body fat that we're obviously weighing. We're looking at obviously things like bone density, muscle mass, all that type of stuff as well. And there's obviously things as well that can massively have an influence on obviously how much you weigh. Food, hydration, and even the exercise that you particularly do and stuff like that. Like they can have massive effects on your weight, but not have a direct effect on fat loss, if that makes sense. So what I generally say to clients when they come to me with this question is give it a little bit more time. If it's been the same for a couple of days or weeks, that's generally normal. Like we're not going to see massive amount of changes unless you've started from off a place where weight can easily quite fall off, generally at the beginning, or if you are a larger human being. But as probably time goes on, you're probably not going to lose as much weight. And the scales are going to probably start to flatline over time. So give it a little bit more time. If it's starting to be flat, if it's staying stale for the next 2 to 3 weeks, then one thing you're probably going to have a look at is your diet. It probably means that you're not in a calorie deficit as you may have thought. So you might need to look at your eating habits or even the fact of how much you're moving as well. But at the same time, I've seen it where I've had clients who have been training with me for 8 weeks. They've not seen any movement regarding the scales, not dramatic much, but they've lost a hell of a weight. Their body composition changes, and the measurements changes as well. And I think like that's a useful tool to use as well. Don't just use weights and scales as your only metric to measure. Make sure you're measuring from the point of photographs, measurements, and really keep a log of all those things in the long run. And you'll probably find that like whatever you're doing, let's say right now, in 2 to 3 weeks, you'll start seeing that result. Or just say the result of what the results of what you're seeing right now is the results of what's been happening in the last 2 to 3 weeks. If that gets if you get that idea of it as well. So I hope that helps in that regards. Cool. We move on to now the last question as well. I hope you guys have been enjoying this episode. Maybe I will do more of these in the future. But the last question is for today: do I need to cut carbs out to lose fat? And God, if I would be an absolute millionaire now, if I would count up, or if I got a pound for the amount of time someone's asked me that, or they've said, "Oh, I've cut carbs out now. Now I'm losing weight." Let me get this. Let me give you this, guys. Yeah, let me give this to you straight. There we go. Speaking English, Miles. If you cut any of the macronutrients, whether that's protein, whether that's carbohydrates, whether that's fats, you will lose weight. Simple as. You're cutting a macronutrient. You're cutting quite a large portion of food. Now, do I recommend that? Hell no. I don't recommend that. Why? Because all of them are really important, especially carbs. If you've seen the film Fall Guy with Ryan Gosling, he does like a really kind of funny scene in the sense of like he just goes, "Glucose is the power to your brain," or something to that regards. Or your brain runs on glucose. There we go. And it's so true. Like our body's primary fuel is carbohydrates, it's glucose, it's sugar. And the people who then tend to cut out carbohydrates start off really great. They start noticing that they're not getting spikes in blood sugars or anything like that, or the massive cravings or drops in energy. But then as the weeks goes on, the training starts to drip, performance starts to drop, and sleep. The next thing you notice, big binge, back to square one. So I always would recommend to my clients, keep carbohydrates in. Keep it as much as we possibly can. Obviously, we are going to have an element of manipulation. So, for example, one of the things that I do with my clients that are more in the kind of like sports realm, if they need to improve their body composition, I'll probably reduce their carbohydrate intake on the days that they're not training, simply because obviously they don't need that fuel. But again, trying to get the minimal effective dose in the sense of having enough carbohydrates that fuel the daily activities, whether that's going on walks and stuff like that, whether that's jogs, continence strength, all that type of things and all that. The bottom line is, yes, you do need carbohydrates, and in order to lose weight, again, I've already alluded to this, we need to be in a calorie deficit. So you can do that with any cups of macronutrients, but I wouldn't look at just completely cutting out carbohydrates out of your diets. I would do that from making better choices within your food. So making sure that we're eating most of the time whole grain foods, tons of fiber, tons of minerals, tons of obviously great stuff that's going to really help us perform better in our everyday. And also well-being in the fact of when we're in a deficit, we don't feel like we're in a deficit because we're still eating a hell of a load of food. So yeah. So before you start thinking about trying to cut out a whole macronutrient, take responsibility of your diet, stop eating like a child, and make some really good choices. So yeah. So you can see from there, it's quite easy for me to go on a bit of a rant with stuff like that. Um, but yeah, but I hope that answers that. So yeah, right, guys. I hope I've been able to answer all those questions to the best. If there's anything you're not 100% sure on, or is there anything you want me to kind of elaborate a little bit more on, drop me a message on either any of my socials or drop me an email so I can kind of help you guys out and stuff like that. If you've got any questions that you think that will be suitable for the podcast, again, give me a message. I'm really looking to do more of these type of episodes where I think it's really relatable to you guys as the viewer to kind of get some real time, real people questions. So yeah, and I quite enjoy these as well. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast. If you like it, make sure you give it a 5-star review. Make sure you share with your friends if they're going through anything similar to what I've just said as well. And like I've said before, if you've got any other questions or anything like that, or you're not sure about the things that I've said today, make sure you drop me a message. But anyway, guys, I will see you all in the next episode of the MH Performance Podcast. Have a lovely day. Ta-ta.